people from ICPS for they invite me for this event. I'm afraid, unfortunately, I'm afraid that I'm not so fluent in English than in Portuguese, and I'm a very anxious man, and so this is brings me some bad feelings, but I will do my best. And as I technically are on vacation, I need to say for the records that I do not speak for the Brazilian government, and the ideas I present here are just personal opinions. So I try to bring to you today a broader idea about what is the Brazilian procurement system now. And I call this presentation Challenges and Opportunities because we have a lot of things to do, especially in the last 3 years. We improve a lot our procurement system, and I would like to show that to you. I will split my presentation in 5 topics to facilitate the comprehension. And the first, it's procurement process, an overview, very short overview. The Brazilian total government purchases were about 172 billion in 2002, something around 10% of our GDP, which is consistent with the number. We say that we have something like 37%, because I think your number was from 1988, was from 2008. Yeah, okay. But we are now in around 37%, I think, of the GDP. So 10% is almost 1/3 of this total amount of money. The Brazilian procurement process is defined by law 8666 from 1993. It's important to say that this law was approved after a great scandal, a corruption scandal that our president, former president Collor, was taking out of the office, have his impeachment, and then the Brazilian society was, how can I say, assaulted by a very strong feeling of inspired corruption. So this kind of law, I said in my dissertation that Brazil has a, how can I say, in English, a corruptocentric system. A system in all the laws are made to try to prevent corruption. And so the procurement law is not to do the best procurement, but to prevent corruption, try to prevent corruption. This, it's a big problem, because our legislation are very bureaucratic, are very tight in terms of the process. This had some advantages, but some big problems too. I think that in 2000, with the law 10.520, we did a step ahead, and a very important step, because this law gives us the possibility to do electronic procurement with reverse auction, electronic reverse auction mainly. And electronic reverse auction bring to our procurement system more transparency, and the average prices, because which brings the price down, it's competition. And the electronic reverse auction gives us a large amount of competition. Each procurement process has a lot of suppliers, a lot of people trying to win this process. And so the average prices goes down by approximately 25%. It's a huge improvement for us. And talking about objectives, the law 8666 has two basic objectives: ensure the equality among bidders and select the most advantageous proposal to the government. This is not exactly the fact, because we are so focused on guarantee equality that the result of the process almost don't matter. It's follow the law, only follow the law. That structure that you put when you have the plane of you have to plane the process first. It's a very big problem for us, because we can commit errors in the establishing our needs, and no one can, how can I say, reverse this problem. When you put the notice, it's finished. You will get some level of waste, and follow the law, don't prevent that. Acquisition is carried out through public bidding, operated by a bidding committee or an auctioneer. The bidding committee is to modes that I will show you, and the auctioneer is to the 10.520 law, to reverse auction. We have 5 procurement methods: invitation, price taking, competition, contest, and reverse auction. Contest is not exactly for procurement. I don't mention that. Invitation, price take, and competition. The difference between the three basically are this level of prices. No? It's only a matter of amount of money involved in the process. And the difference between the three are, how can I say, the complexity. The process is quite the same. The difference is in the price taking and competition. We have a qualification process before the dispute in terms of proposal, price proposal. This brings us a lot of problems, because in this section, the qualification section, the people, all the potential suppliers are together, and they put his papers on the table, and each of one can say, oh, this paper is not correct. And, for example, a procurement process can dure about 300 days, and it's a hell. It's a very big problem. You will see that one of the major improvements that we made was exactly to reverse the process. And a simple procedure, simply reverse the process. And it's fantastic. And the reverse auction, I need to say, become a kind of, how can I say, a holy grail. I am a very critic of our process. I present a paper 4 years ago in Nottingham criticizing electronic reverse auction, not because the process are terrible, but because the process has some things in our strategy that was very bad. Because when ignorance prevails, you are more, how can I say, you see a tool, and if this tool seems to you very good, you forgot to learn, and you take the tool and start to use the tool as if the tool was the only thing you have. And this happens with electronic reverse auction. Today, we had something like 85% of the competitive process, the competitive procurements are made by reverse auction, which is very good in some sense, but not represent the quality of the tool, but our difficulty to view other possibilities. Usually an invitation can last between 30 and 45 days. Price taking, so to you have an idea of the times involved in the process. A price taking something between 60 and 90 days, and competition between 90 and 150 days. If all the things goes normal, if we had some problem, could take, I think, forever. Selection criteria, lowest price, best technique, and technique and price. Unfortunately, this is not true. In fact, even best technique and technique and price are at the end lowest price. And this is another problem because, let me see, I think no one of us goes to buy a car and said to the people, to the seller, what's the cheapest? It's not that way we bought a car. And we try to know how many tax we will pay, the gas consumption, and other things. You need to have a lot of elements to decide. There is a technique, total cost of ownership, that are very interesting, that bring us an idea that how the private sector and I think the intelligent people decide what goods will be purchased, but not only by price. And our law is focused only in price, the 8666. Naturally, to start the process, to publicize the process, we need to publish them, to do a call act that could be a notice or an invitation. Invitation is the simplest process we have with electronic reverse auction. The other process complex are price intake and competition, and these two processes need a notice. Naturally, the next step is the competition moment, when the envelopes containing the price proposal are opened. In competition and price taking, first you need to do the qualification of the bidders, okay? And the winner will be the bidder whose proposal complies with all requirements of the notice. The notice is a kind of law of the procurement. It's very important for us. And has the lowest proposed price. In theory, it's perfect. I want to show to you some improvements that came after 8666. The first important thing was small size enterprise. Small size enterprise was, it's a complementary law, number 123, and this law incentives create an ambience, an environment for improving the procurement with micro and small business, trying to, because this particular group of enterprises normally generates more employment and wealthy. This law gives to small business exclusive bids, the procurement up to 29,500 euros are only to the segment of micro and small enterprise in Brazil. Subcontracting, the people in everyone that wants a procurement in Brazil could subcontract micro and small business. The process of qualification in the case of micro and small business are different. They had little exigencies, shorter exigencies to be qualified, and preemptive rights. The results until now. In 2012, this segment accounted for 6 billion of the federal government spending. This amount of money is 15 times than in the year 2002. Was very important for micro and small enterprises in Brazil, this law, and we had now approved the creation of a new ministry that will take care about small and medium-sized, micro, small and medium-sized enterprises. Sustainable procurement, I think that this is, from this point to here and here, this is gold. This is the real improvements that we made in the last 3 years and are very important for us because it permits us to change the old bureaucratic mentality to a new mentality. Procurement policy that takes into account sustainability criteria, that's the point, criteria based on economic and social development and environmental conservation. We try to bring these concepts to the law, to procurement law. And the law that gives us this possibility is 12349 from 2010. It's very recent. This law modifies the Article 3 of Law 8666, determining the guarantee of sustainable national development as one of the 3 pillars of the Brazilian procurement process. The 2 others I mentioned before, and this third principle, the third element come to our legislation. SLTI is Secretary of Logistics and Information Technology. This is the institution in the Brazilian government that has the responsibility to, how can I say, to organize the procurement process in the Brazilian federal government. And they made the instruction number 1 of 2010 that defines environmental sustainability criteria in the procurement of goods, services, or work contracts. I can mention in detail, but I will give you the directions. Unfortunately, Portuguese, it's a barrier, naturally. I think that we are getting more and more open, but I think that this will take some time to be completely open, and we put all this legislation in English to the people. The decree number 7746 establishes criteria practices and guidelines to promote sustainable national development in contracts undertaken by the federal government. And in Article 4 of this legislation, there is some guidelines to sustainability, to understand what we are thinking about sustainability. And there is some items I will read for you, but a less impact on natural resources, local origin preference for materials, naturally local for us it's better, more efficient use of natural resources like water and energy, greater employment generation, preferably with local labor, and longer life and lower maintenance cost for goods and works. I think that this opens the door to total cost of ownership, to change our criteria to decide who will win the process. Using innovations that reduce the pressure on natural resources and environmentally regular sources of natural resources and so on. The result until now, it's very, I think, disappointing for me in special. I would like that, I think that we need to do much more than that. But in 2012, the federal government spent almost 16 million acquiring products ecologically, socially, and economically responsible. Regarding 2010, the acquisition of these products grew 236%. But there is a problem here, because the main problem is that our labor force in terms of procurement, as I normally said, amateurs. The people who works with procurement in our government could be anyone, any public servant. You give them 16 hours course about procurement and say you are prepared to do procurement. And this area are too risky for the people. The people could be put in jail if the wrong things are did in this place. So the people don't want to work with procurement. And we have a great turnover in the area. The people don't stay long enough to become prepared, specialized. This is a very big problem for us. And so the fear, it's the problem that are difficulting the advance of this law. But we will try to overcome this. The fourth, procurement special regime. This is another very important step in our procurement system, because I think the Olympics and World Cup was the perfect excuse to go ahead, to do the steps we need to do. And the things that we put on special regime, I think 10 years ago, but we have not, we didn't have the opportunity to put in law. And now we done that. You see that the law is very recent, 2011. No? And the procurement special regime, we say in Portuguese RDC, was established by law 12462 from 2011 and regulated by the decree 7581. And initially applies. You see that we are spreading, we are open and try to use more the law, because this is fantastic. Initially, we approved this law only to Olympics, Confederations Cup, World Cup, infrastructure works in airports to World Cup, and we say that a Piracy Act, we put on this law together with these elements the action of growth acceleration program, which is a very big infrastructure program that we have, not related to World Cup and other things, but very important for us. And as we know that the process will be more faster in RDC, we put these things together with RDC. And as we feel that the law it's getting better results, we start to put other things together with RDC. And Law 12722 extended the use of RDC for procurement and contracts necessary to carry out works and engineering services to the public school system. And after that, more recently, at the last December, we approved another law very close to this law, did the same thing to unified route system of Brazil. And I think that the elements of RDC are irreversible. We are, thank God, changing our legislation to this path. Get out of the 8666 and come to RDC. I think in the future all things will be conducted by the elements of RDC. There is a lot of guidelines in RDC, but I think that in the RDC are elements of the law about sustainability. We not have the necessity to have only the price option to decide a procurement process, but we have some elements very interesting. I choose only two to talk about. Obtain the biggest advantage. It's one of the objectives of RDC. We put out the lowest price and we start to talk about obtain the biggest advantage. In terms of concept, it's a big improvement. And the second thing is a curiosity. This legislation made possible to split the purchase in lots. This is very curious because our legislation has a principle very interesting. I'm an economist, and my first formation is as an economist. We use the principle of scale, but the principle of scale is about cost. It's not about price. What brings the price down, it's not the scale, it's the competition. The people confound the concepts because when you increase the scale, normally you bring more competitors. So naturally you have more competition and the price got down. And the people confuse them because you can increase the scale to a level that only one or two enterprises could satisfy your needs. So you are creating a monopoly, an artificial monopoly. If you don't understand the concepts, you use them wrong, in a wrong way. And so now, finally, we discovered that sometimes split the purchase in lots is better than an unique lot of purchasing. So it's one of the curious things that shows that we are moving to another moment in our procurement process. And this is the most fantastic thing that we achieve in this modern legislation. Exchange the order between the bidder qualification phase and the analysis of the best proposal. For example, I don't know if it's, no, it's, I will only to say, because I can resist, Only this simple change brings National Department of Transportation Infrastructure is the largest department. That's a huge amount of money. The most part of development growth program that we have in infrastructure are in this department. We take the average time to finish a procurement process from 285 days to 79 days. With the same elements, transparency, accountability, and other things. Only reversing the order. Infraero, the Brazilian airport infrastructure company, has a similar result. From we are using electronic ways to do procurement in a massive way. We use this a lot. This has some very interesting results, but we had some problems too. I think I'm not able to tell you now, but if you want, I will, in conditions to talk about later at afternoon and tomorrow. I will stay here. The bidders could be organized as a consortium. This was possible only in process of concessions and privatizations. And now, in the procurement, it's possible too. The presentation of proposals can be open and closed. Open. Bidders shall submit their bids through public bidding with successive increasing or decreasing as the judging criteria adopted. It's take the process from reverse auction and put the same process in the other modalities, if you wish. No? And the closed, that the proposal admitted by the bidder will be confidential until the designated date and time to be announced. And the process could be mixed too. You start with closed, and then the process goes on with open after. Judging criteria, the last three, lower price or higher discount, technique and price, best technique, higher bid because we can sell something, and finally, great economic return. In procedures with great economic return, used exclusively for the pursuit of efficiency, the proposals will be considered in order to select the one that will provide the greatest savings for the government as a result of the contract implementation. You see, in the 8666 law, we saw the procurement process as only the process of selecting the supplier. Because as we think that the main risk of corruption are in that part of the process, was in that part of the process that we concentrate all the things that the legislations are concerned. Now we are finally viewing the process as planning, select the supplier, and management contract, and manage the contract. So I think that we will get results, better and better results with this change of mind. I show that. And finally, last but not least, this is not, I think, an element that could help the people who want to do business with us. It's more restrictive and more nationalist, but not in a bad sense, in my view. But I need to show because it's a very important innovation that comes in the last year. You saw it's the same law, no? 12.349, that modifies that article in 8666. Contracts for the implementation, maintenance, and improvement of information technology and strategic communication systems, specifically these services, and for other products that Brazil has special interest in protect our industry. We establish the concept of margin of preference, a normal margin of preference and an extra margin of preference if national products and services arising from the development of technological innovation achieved in the country. So we can put an extra margin. The sum of normal and extra margin could reach 25% at maximum. So you have the lowest price, you put 25%, and the first Brazilian product that are in this range will be the winner. Decree 7546 establishes criteria, practice, and guidelines to implement margin of preference to be not so, how can I say, in English, I don't have the word. You need to be some rule. But I will remember a better word another time. And the products that will have this kind of advantage are decided by an interministerial commission for procurement. This commission has the responsibility to normalize, establish compensation measures, analyze studies about the results, and assess economic impacts. And it's not an indiscriminated thing. It's only to very specific markets. The composition of preference margins will be based on studies reviewed periodically, 5 years at maximum. We think a period not exceeding 5 years, identifying among others the potential of because you did this thing and you need to assess, to understand the results of this thing and say we will maintain or we will put aside this kind of thing in the specific market. The potential of generating employments and income, income in the country, the multiplier effect on the collection of federal, states, and local taxes, the potential for technological innovation and development conducted in the country, the additional cost of products and services, and in its review, when they are talking about the results, the retrospective analysis of the results. I give you some example of what we did in this field. Clothing, footwear, similar products, here the decree, give to this particular goods 20% to domestic products over imported items. Backhoes and bulldozers, 18%. And drugs and medicines with margins of 20% for drugs, 25% for biological products, and 8% for active pharmaceutical ingredients with immediate national manufacturing capacity. There is only 3 until now. But I think that in the future, maybe we find some other markets that need some kind of protection. But all the rules that give us this power are at disposal in Portuguese only for now, but I think that we will translate that. Here, some useful websites. I think Brazilian procurement, introductory information in English. Margin of preference only in Portuguese. This is our, in Brazil we have a centralized information technology system to federal government. So we have only way in which the people could implement a procurement process. And so we have a lot of information. I said that we have a lot of information and almost no one to research about that. It's a result of the bureaucratic mentality. We need to control everything, but we have the information and we don't have the people to understand the information and said, well, we need to improve here and here and here. This is craziness, but I think that we are getting better. And Brazil procurement, that is an introductory information only in Portuguese too. And thank you for your attention. I hope that the information I bring to you can be useful. And sorry for my English. I had a terrible nightmare this night. There was a guy running after me. I think was Shakespeare, and he wants to kill me. But I will improve my English.